Hey, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your probably busy, crazy, hectic week to check out the Midweek 5. And as usual, try to give you some encouraging thoughts. I want to do that today in about 5 minutes. I don't think I've ever actually hit 5 minutes, but I'm going to do my best to keep it in that range for you. So my prayer is just this will be an encouragement to you as you're navigating through your week. So I'm going to look at Mark chapter 6. Starting in verse 30 today. And as I lean into this passage, it's just something God kind of used to get my attention. I was reading through this with my youngest son the other night before he went to bed, and you know how kids are, especially this time of year. If they've had a bedtime, it's been at a certain time, and now it's daylight longer, and now that school time bedtime is it's still daylight, and so we're trying to be sensitive to all that and everything that they're feeling. But this particular evening, we came to Mark chapter 6, and verses 30 through 30 and 31 is what I want to pull out. And it says, the apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all that they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, Jesus said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." Now, when we read this, I was like, see, Jesus is telling you rest is a good thing. So in all your activity, it is a good thing. Even God said go to bed, so you can't argue with it. So anyway, I kind of jokingly used that with him. But this thought came to my mind as I was reflecting through this. I kind of see three parts in this passage that I want to pull out. First of all, I see the disciples in verse 30. The apostles is talking most likely about the 12, Jesus' 12 disciples. And it says, and they reported to him all that they had done and taught. And I just want to encourage you, because I would guess you're probably an active person. You've got some things going on in your life that are good, that are worthwhile, maybe even kingdom-focused things that you're trying to glorify God in what you do, but you're busy. You're doing a lot of things, probably a lot of good, worthwhile things, right? And I want to encourage you in those things. If those are things God has led you into, then keep on keeping on. It is good to invest our time and our energy in things that ultimately bring glory to God, but are worth spending our time in. So we see the disciples doing this. But then it says in verse 31, it says, because so many people were coming and going, they didn't even get a chance to eat. So it's like they were doing this really good thing. A lot of people were being impacted, so there's a lot of good things being accomplished. But it says they didn't even get time to eat. And so, again, in all of your busyness and the things you have going on, things that are probably hopefully worthwhile and things that you want to be pouring yourself into, one thing that happens in the middle of that is we forget some of those things that are necessities. Those things will actually keep us going in the middle of doing the things that we're doing, like eating or like sleeping. And so we see the disciples running into this in the middle of their activity and the things that they were doing with Jesus. And so Jesus leans into them right here and he says to them, okay, we've not even had a chance to eat here. So come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. So here's my encouragement to you today. While you in the middle of doing what you do, and I'm just going to assume those are good things, in the middle of doing those good things, there's probably a chance that you're neglecting something. Maybe it's eating, maybe it's sleeping, maybe it's something else altogether. But here's the invitation. The invitation is to recognize that we get busy, even busy with good things, but in the midst of that, there's this pull that pulls us away from some of the things that we really need most so that we can continue doing the things that we enjoy and the things that we feel called to. So Jesus leans in and he says, I'm going to break down Jesus' quote here. He says, "Come with me by yourselves." So I want to ask you, just as Jesus invites the disciples here, Jesus wants us to be with him by ourselves. And specifically, he wants us to be with him by ourselves in a quiet place. In other words, a place where we are free from distraction. In a place where we can sense God's presence, where we can actually maybe even hear, not audibly perhaps, but we can hear the voice of God speaking into our life because there's not all kinds of other noise and things and other people coming to us trying to get our attention. And in that, we can rest. In that, we find some renewal of our perspective, like I talked about this past Sunday. So here's my challenge to you. In the midst of doing all that you do and the people coming and going, are you coming and going with Jesus? Are you allowing for a quiet place to hear his voice? Now, here's the challenge. On top of that is, what does this need to look like for you? Because we're all different. The key is not so much exactly what you do, but that you're creating this margin in your life where you can get away with Jesus in a quiet place and get some rest. So, few thoughts to wrap this up. Maybe for you, this is about creating space in your life. So if you're a very disciplined, calendar-oriented person, you need to get that out, and you could say, all right, just like I schedule all the other things in my life, I'm going to schedule getting away with Jesus and to a quiet place so I can rest in him, so I can hear from him rather than everything else that's going on in my life. So maybe you just need to look at it and say, this is where it's going to be. Perhaps your schedule's so full at the moment you can't look at that. So I'm going to challenge you to use what I call the invisible space. It's kind of that space that is there, but you'll miss it if you don't pay attention to it. For example, instead of getting in the car and turning on your radio and listening to the news or sports or music or whatever, create some quiet space in your car to be with Jesus. Just listen. Maybe even just pray. Pray out loud. Have a conversation with Jesus. People will just think you're talking on your Bluetooth. It's not a big deal. Maybe in the car it doesn't work for you, so that space needs to be somewhere else. Instead of turning on the TV at night, you create some quiet space. So I can't tell you exactly what that needs to look like for you. I just want to encourage you to receive Jesus' invitation today where he says, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. He wants to renew you. He wants you to rest in him so that you can be who he's called you to be and pursue those things that he's called you to pursue. All right, that's my encouragement. I hope you think about it. What's that look like for you as you step into the rest of this week? Think about that rhythm. Think about that quiet place, getting away with Jesus. What's that going to look like for you? And I know the overflow of that will be a great blessing to you. So have a great rest of your week, and I look forward to doing this again next week on your Midweek 5.